Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Free Press Live. I'm Michael Moynihan, coming to you from the freezing cold Free Press office and newsroom in Manhattan. With me today is opinion editor for Newsweek, Batya Ungar-Sargon, and today we're going to be talking to Michael Knowles about the future of social conservatism in the Republican Party, Rod Dreher about Netflix's new Virgin Mary film, and Jeffrey Kane about what the hell is going on in South Korea. But first, let's talk about Trump's embattled pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Hegseth is hanging in the balance this week as a sexual assault allegation has surfaced, among other questions about his alcohol use and infidelity. Batya, there was a story this morning, and let's start this way. There was a story this morning in the Wall Street Journal, picked up by a lot of people. And as a matter of fact, I was on Megyn Kelly's show. I'll give a plug to a show that doesn't need a plug, yesterday. And she said at the end of the show, she's a defender of Pete Hegseth, but I think that Ron DeSantis, this is her saying this, I think Ron DeSantis would be the great pick. And she made a case for it, which I sort of agreed with. And I said, So I wonder what she's hearing from Trump world. This morning, the Wall Street Journal reported that this is indeed possibly happening. There are people in Trump world that are, put out feelers to the DeSantis people in Florida. So on the way into the show this morning, I talked to a source very close to Ron DeSantis, and I said, hey, what's going on? I don't want to misquote him here. And he was cagey about certain things, but he said to me that he can confirm that the Wall Street Journal reporting is accurate, period. And here's the relevant part. Trump wants DeSantis.
So a little bit of breaking news here on our show at the Free Press. Apparently, Trump wants
This is according to
DeSantis,
somebody who is a very reliable source,
DeSantis.
very close to DeSantis, says this. Now, as we were talking before, we have to, put all the caveats out there. Maybe I trust this guy, or girl.
As the case may be.
I was just tricking them there. This could be them kind of trying to push something along. But here, what I know to be true from this is happening. These conversations are happening. As you pointed out, when I walked in this morning, the Trump people are saying that Trump is going to tell him to fight, keep fighting, blood on the ear, hand up in the air, clenched fist. This is a slightly different thing, though, right? I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is out there actively talking to Governor Ron DeSantis, who has been a rival in the past, obviously ran and tried to primary Donald Trump, did run in 2018. That campaign was made by Donald Trump, and they sort of did ads that were Trumpy ads. My question to you is, what do you think about this pick? And then we should talk about Pete Hegseth a bit, because as I said yesterday to Megyn Kelly, de-wokeify the military. This is kind of nonsense to me, right? You want to do that? Great. That's an afternoon. You can do that. Let's get rid of these people. Let's do this. The problem is it has an $850 billion budget, and that's probably an undercount. We need somebody that can go in there with an axe and a scalpel and say, look, what is this? This is a sinkhole of money. How do we make this department run better? My argument for DeSantis on this, whatever you think about DeSantis' politics in Florida, he is a very good administrator. Nobody denies this in Florida. When a hurricane comes, DeSantis is on it, and you can rely that everything's going to work. So I think in that sense, this would be a very good pick.
It's such an interesting point you make. First of all, so the question of, is this scoop accurate, or is this the DeSantis people trying to push him? I don't think they would do that.
I don't think so either.
At such a sensitive moment where Trump is clearly paying attention. Hegseth is hanging in the balance, which we'll talk about in a minute, whether he should be pushed through or not. So it is a really interesting moment, although CBS, as you mentioned, says that Trump this morning tells Pete Hegseth to keep fighting for confirmation as Secretary of Defense.
What the hell do they know? CBS.
Exactly.
Trump saying we're going to have to shut them down?
Right. Who's talking to them anymore? I think what's so interesting to me about DeSantis' name being floated is that DeSantis did not campaign with, he was not invited to campaign with Trump. A lot of people felt that there was a snub there, not just to DeSantis, but to his many, many supporters. But what I think you're seeing here, and really throughout this whole, choosing nominees and the battle for them, even replacing them, is Donald Trump behaving in the opposite way of how his detractors predicted. They said he was going to be a bull in a china shop. They said we were going to see massive threats to democracy because he had nothing left to fear. And instead what you see is a much more mature Donald Trump, who's certainly making statements with his choices, but then is willing to sort of reconsider when he thinks that people are not going to get through, not going to be appreciated. I think that this is Trump trying to appeal to the center and to really prove that he understands the mandate that he is given. I
will say that as the very Trump skeptical person here, and somebody who recoils when I hear him being described in any way as mature, I think there is, as every successful politician has to have, a bit of realpolitik in him. Mm-hmm. I mean, the idea that
there's a lot.
There's a lot, but I mean, particularly in this, that he's going to do recess appointments, do an end run around FBI background checks, et cetera. If you were going to do that and you're going to put your middle finger up to the to the senators, particularly Republican senators who have said, we have a problem with this. We have a problem with Pete Hegseth, and we'll get to that quickly, is that he knows that this is going to be difficult for him, and you don't want a wrong foot from the beginning, and you want somebody who's going to be a good administrator. The thing about not having DeSantis campaign with him is that the number of people that are within Trump orbit who have denounced him is about 90%. And some, so far as his vice president saying that he might be Hitlerian. Right. And no, he said, I've changed my mind. And I actually believe that he has changed his mind on that. I don't
Trump is very forgiving.
And he's forgiving of that. But on Hegseth, what do you think about this? Because we're a long way from 1996. And again, to reference my pal Megyn Kelly, because we were talking about this yesterday, she brought up something interesting, that attacking Pete Hegseth was Ann Coulter. And I said, well, there's nothing surprising about this. Ann made her bones writing a book attacking Bill Clinton, right? High crimes and misdemeanors, the Monica Lewinsky stuff. We've come a long way from Republicans saying, like, look at this, Bill Clinton, he is unfit for the presidency, to saying, like, I don't know, seems okay. I will say, just to be very clear at the beginning, I don't know the ins and outs of this. I don't know everything about this. So that is an enormous caveat. I don't believe the most serious allegation against him.
So let's go through the allegations. So the first is, I think, something that is established as fact, which is that he has repeatedly cheated on his first wife and his second wife when they were either pregnant or nursing at home with young children. I don't think that that's contested. So that's the first one, which is, we could say, maybe
and you support a moral. That, is what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I just think of that like, I guess I can't run DOD.
All right. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Not that, but him. The second is that he had to resign from an organization for veterans because of repeated acts of drunkenness or inappropriate behavior, of basically drunkenness, and that he has been drunk on set at Fox News. That was another one of the allegations that surfaced last night from Yashar Ali. I think he had 10 reports. And the third is this Me Too allegation that he was at a resort at a conference, and that there was an altercation with a woman, and that she then went to the hospital. She did not report this as a sexual assault, but the nurse who saw her is a mandated reporter and reported the sexual assault. The woman then settled outside of court. I think it was about 4 days later, And no charges were ever brought. So let's go through these.
Well, they did investigate, and we can start at that one, because that is the most serious one. And the police did investigate this. And, Hegseth paid her out. He says it was a small amount of money. We cannot investigate this person. And when you say, like, well, this is the charge has to be investigated, yes, but at the same time, has this person done this serially? Are they somebody, I mean, what do we know the circumstance of this? I mean, he says that they slept together. She was there in the hotel with her husband and her children at the hotel when he says this happened. That's a he said, she said. The important thing, and much like the Woody Allen case, which kind of bubbles up once in a while, it was investigated. The police decided not to go forward. If that is not the standard, we are living in a very, very Orwellian place. That the accusation itself is enough to derail you. That is a very bad incentive structure for people who want to destroy people's careers. I, on this one, say it's a serious thing. FBI, all these people should look into it. But on the surface of what we know, It was investigated by the police, and they decided not to charge. The other stuff, I think, is probably the more serious stuff.
I totally agree with you. I think that this is not a Me Too situation. I don't think it came off credibly as such. I think this belongs probably more in the cheating allegations, right? So let's say that now, like, there's two real buckets. There's the cheating and then the drunkenness. On the drunkenness thing, I have to say I want to join the voices of all the other, people who are on Fox a lot. I've been on set with him. He was nothing but courteous. In fact, he's very kind. Definitely not drunk, very smart,
if he was drunk,
very
I'd be like,
professional.
This guy's awesome.
And I was on Gutfeld with him, which is where he was hosting for Gutfeld, which is a fun show, which is a relaxed show, and he was completely professional. Like, so that really does not ring true to me at all.
On Greg Gutfeld's show. I'm actually not joking. I think
so, Michael, it seems that you have actually done everything Pete Hegseth.
Yes, I am the real Pete Hegseth, America.
Okay.
That should be my new handle.
So, but let's talk about this, because I think we maybe have different views about this. I think the cheating is probably happened and is morally offensive, but shouldn't be disqualifying. His mother denounced him, but I don't see that as like, should this be can he do the job or not? And I think I am in the camp of, I don't know that we, in today's day and age, in 2024, do or should consider moral failings to somehow be disqualifying for positions of enormous power that have nothing to do. I mean, would I put him in charge of, some sort of moral, glad we don't have these, but, office? Probably not. But can he do the job? I don't see any evidence that he couldn't do the job or wouldn't be very good about it. What's your take on that?
Well, I think the evidence that he couldn't do the job has nothing to do with the fact that he cheats on his wives. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough question. I mean, what is the line? I mean, if there is this kind of moral bar you have to get over to work. I mean, obviously the Free Press doesn't have it. I'm just going to tell you that. No one looked at my background and was like, I don't think you should work here. They were like, yeah, that's fine. So that kind of thing is like what becomes the bar, what is unacceptable. Right. And now, I think it was a little too closed before. It was like, we would have people that were, I mean, remember, who was it? A justice that was put before, it was in 1989 or something, after Bork, and it was like the guy had smoked pot and admitted it, and it was like, could not be a justice on the Supreme Court. We have had conversations where the moral frame was so closed that we were like eliminating people who were, qualified and would be great for the country. I guess, one of the things that I think of, the behavior that you're doing yourself, are the people underneath you, if they did that, would they be kicked out of the service? They would be. I think a lot of these situations, they would either be sanctioned or they would be, like discharged or something. Because I did a story a long time ago, probably about 5-6 years ago, about a former editor of the New York Times who turned out was a plagiarist. And she was teaching journalism at Harvard. And that was the question I asked. They allowed her to stay on. Right. If her students did that, they would be sanctioned. That is kind of my thing. There is a moral frame that exists within the military already, and whether or not you agree with that, is that something that he could himself be kicked out of the service for? I don't know the exact answer to that question because I know there's variations of it, but I just think that Donald Trump doesn't need this pick right now, and particularly after the Matt Gaetz fiasco and the person that was tapped to head the DEA, who was run out by conservatives, who said he was a nightmare during COVID. He arrested a pastor for having something where there was too many people there. I think at this point, people will not remember this outside of historians and political scientists. It will be gone. We'll just say, Ron DeSantis is the head of the Department of Defense. And according to the person that I said this morning, that I talked to, that is what Trump wants. Do we believe him? I do, actually. I do. Is that what's going to happen? We'll have to see, but that reporting apparently from the Wall Street Journal is accurate.